I will give a few people a chance to jump on. Hey, you, GM975679. What's your name? I love all these scream names that I just can't figure out. Hey, everybody. I's back. Hey, David, how are you? Thanks for joining. Oh, thank you for all the hearts. I love them. I love them, I love them, I love them. If you get a chance, hey, Ruth, how are you, darling? If you get a chance to share the broadcast, I would appreciate that. You can just tap the little share. Hey, Ashley, my boo. Hey, Joan, how are you? So, oh, hey, Marjorie. It's good to see you. So I jumped on a little bit earlier because I forgot that today I was supposed to be doing some volunteer work. And so I was all set to kind of do a later broadcast, but I'm going to do that. Oh, thank you, Marjorie. I appreciated that. I miss being at the Tom Joyner family reunion this year. Hey, Emmett. Ruth, so what we want to talk about today, well, I want to celebrate wins. So if you guys got any wins today, if anything like magnificent happened, I definitely want you to share that. My day was pretty straightforward. I got a little off track. I had a friend that was kind of having a situation. And so I kind of took 2 hours out of my day to support her through that. So I got a little off track, but I think that's a win too, because in my previous life, as in the media world, I probably would not have been as available to do that. Hey, Vincent. Hey, Awesome Black. So a win for me now is being able to kind of control my schedule so that I can be there for friends and family. That was like one of the main reasons I decided to resign from my job, is because I really did want to have more control. Hey, Linda. Hey, Anthony. Have more control over my schedule. So I guess that is still a win. Yes, Ashley, ma'am, I am struggling. And my voice, I think, is going to go soon because I won't stop talking. So I don't think that it helps that I just won't shut up. But life has to continue. So I want to celebrate wins. So Ashley, did you get a win today? I want to know your wins. Vincent, did you get a win? Linda, did you get a win? So share your wins. So that's probably my biggest win. I definitely am going to have to do some work later tonight to try to get caught up. But so far that was a pretty big win for me. But what I also wanted to talk about was our power, and how even when we don't mean to be powerful, we are. Hey, TG James, how are you? Thank you for the heart. I think that it's amazing. Are you giving me your address and your WhatsApp number? Ricardo is telling all his business on Facebook. Ashley, yeah. Ashley is my makeup artist. Well, she's many people's makeup artist, but I claim her as my own personal makeup artist. But we were talking about, hey, Ronald, how are you? We were talking about Rihanna's new makeup line that just came out not too long ago. I know I heard about it over the weekend. And so Ashley was looking for the Rihanna foundation in her shade, so she found it. So that's her win for today. But I wanted to talk about our power and how we don't own up to how powerful we are. Oh, Vincent, that's awesome. You read to a group of first graders. That's great. Hey, Tony V, how are you? And when I say that we're powerful even when we don't realize that we're being powerful, I'm really talking about the power of our thoughts. It's like I always tell people, if you think your situation is hopeless, one, you don't have a lot of faith. But two, you don't realize that you have the power to change everything that happens in your life. So I really firmly believe that when we find ourselves in situations that we don't want to be in, we really have to go back and determine, like, what were we thinking that landed us there? So the power of thought is so amazing that really when you, hey, Julius, how are you? Oh, I appreciate you checking in. Good win, Pamela. Pamela finished her journal book. She's having it edited now. Hopefully done by Friday. Yay for you. Hey, Austin. And so I do things sometimes, like, because I know my mind gets my mind is so out of control at times. I have to work really hard to control my thoughts. And I think a lot of us have that whole fight or flee thing. So when we're faced with a circumstance, sometimes our first thought is it just goes to negative. It's like we have all of these negative thoughts running around. We're not focused on what we can do to change it. And we'll see things starting to escalate. Hey, Tone Capone, how are you? We'll see things start to escalate, but it's because our thoughts are like out of control. And so, you know, every once in a while, I'll do this whole mind check and I'll just start really focusing on like, you know, like what my first thoughts are that come to mind in any situation. And I'm pretty good at now self-editing. I may like have that thought for like a second, but you know, I can usually go back and kind of change it and reframe it. And you know, I have a lot of people in my circle that help me stay on track if I start to say things that are not positive. Like I'll go back to this whole example with me having, and see, I'm about to say it, me having this cold. And one of my friends told me, you know, that I have to stop claiming this cold, that I have to say that I'm like in the healing process and that I'm getting better every day. And so that's what I try to do, but it's like it's so ingrained in some of us negative. And you know who they are. I mean, all of us probably have one or two in our family or in our circle. And, you know, they're always a person that brings that energy down and projects negative things on you. And so you really have to be guarded against not only your thoughts, but them projecting their thoughts on you. Because sometimes we'll just adopt somebody else's truth is so many things. And I think especially as an entrepreneur, I mean, I think that I've had to have more faith than I've ever had to have before, because I really, as an entrepreneur, you really do kind of rely on you and your faith to make sure that everything is going to be okay. Absolutely, Dallas. We think the world is going to end and then we expect things to get better. That's just not the way it works. And so I know, I've talked to people and, you talk about affirmations and you talk about vision boards and you talk about all these things. And some people think that it seems hokey, but really all it is are tools that we have at our disposal in order to help harness, our thoughts so that they're supporting the things that we're trying to do and not taking away from them. What did you say? Friendship is a call to positive action, Yeah, no, I mean, I think that friendship is supposed to support. Hey, Deborah, how are you? I think friendship is supposed to support. Ashley's saying that she had to check her circle and she rid her circle of negative people. And I agree. But I think that, hey, Margie, love you too, honey. Hey, Aurora. Aurora, Illinois in the house. But I think that there's some people that you can't get rid of. I mean, I think there's some people that you have to be in contact with. And so you really have to work more on how you guard your positive energy as opposed to how you can completely rid your circle of negative energy. I mean, I know one of the things that I did when I stopped working for Tom was like, I'm not so in tune with the news because it's so depressing and it gets so in your head. Hey, Busy Matthews, how are you? It does start with self-talk. It gets so ingrained that watching the news first thing in the morning for me just kind of set the tone for the day. And so you have to be very careful. I read a book about, and it was like 100 successful entrepreneurs, and don't ask me the name of it. It was like 20 years ago. But I read it, and the one part that stuck with me, this is the only part. Hey, Paul, how are you? Paul is checking back. The one thing that stuck with me was that, most really, really, really successful people have a set morning routine. They have something that they do, every single morning that kind of sets the tone for their day, whether that's pray, whether that's meditate, whether that's do yoga, whether that's, read inspirational material. Whatever it is, thank you, Casey. Whatever it is, they have a set morning routine that kind of sets the tone for the day. And so if you don't have one, I just encourage you to have one. But I think of the things, that we do and the things that we say to ourselves. There's a quote that says, that if anybody talked to us the way that we talk to ourselves, we probably beat them down. Because we can be so harsh and unloving sometimes. And so it really does start with how you talk to yourself. And I think it goes a lot deeper, like especially I've seen with my friends and even myself in some relationships, when you don't completely love yourself, you accept unloving behavior from other people. And so it really is about not only, hey, Betty Brunson, how are you? Thank you for the all caps, yelling my name on Facebook. It really does start with you and you learning to love yourself and treating yourself in a way that teaches other people how to treat you. And so for me, just realizing the power of thoughts and a whole bunch of other stuff, but the power of our thoughts, the power of our thoughts, I mean, is really important. So Dallas has a good question. Dallas says, how do we not take our positive energy away from the very people that need it? Mostly the negative. So for me, and this is going to be a way out example, but I think it makes sense. I don't know if anybody believes in like the supernatural or ghost or whatever, but if you ever, my son is really into it. And so if you've ever watched some of those shows, the people that go in and they communicate with the spirits or whatever, sometimes they have to, they have to kind of guard themselves so that the negativity doesn't get in. Now, I don't necessarily believe in that, but I do think when you deal with certain negative energies around you in the form of people, you have to be so secure in your positive energy that you can still encourage them without you taking that on yourself. And I think Kay Grace makes a good point. She said, I push away gently and fast from what does not serve me. And I think that a lot of people that feed off of negativity, like the whiners and the people that are always woe is me and victims, they remain victims because people in their circle, hey Daniel, people in their circle allow them to remain victims. So nobody says, get your stuff together and just go get it done and stop whining about it. People baby them and they accept that. And so it gives them permission to continue doing that. So sometimes you have to say, like my sister, I'm going to tell on my sister. So my sister texted me the other day and she was just like saying she was having a bad day for really no reason at all. And I was like, well, you got to shake it off, boo, and get it together because, who cares? I mean, I care, but, get it together. And I think when you see things like, the hurricanes and the people that are dealing with the hurricanes and, you're upset because your garage door wouldn't open, but, people have lost their entire, their house and all of their personal belongings. I mean, there is always somebody that's going to be so much worse off than you are, unfortunately. So I think that a lot of times when we get into victim mode, it's because we're just feeling sorry for ourselves and we really don't see the bigger picture. But I think that at any time you can change your thoughts. You can change whether or not you are going to be a victim or a victor. You can determine like the course of the way things are going to happen. And I mean, sometimes you need support. Sometimes you need people that may know more than you. Sometimes you may need, somebody just listening as you vent. And I mean, I'm not saying that is wrong, but when you get stuck in a place where everything is just so negative, that's when eventually you're going to start doing yourself some harm. So, well, Ephraim says he loves him some him. So we're glad. And he has a no hate zone. So we're glad about that. Casey says Irma was scary. Yeah, it was, and you know what I think, and I don't even mean to play down the people that were actually in it. But Irma and Harvey was scary for a lot of people. So I was in Dallas, and Harvey really did, devastated Houston. But I had so many friends and families, and when I tell you that 90% of them were either stuck in their house or had to be evacuated, I mean, it was extremely stressful. And so there's just always somebody so much worse off. And really, I think every day, every minute, every second that we have on this earth is like a chance to turn it around or to do something different or renew our mind, as somebody said earlier. Melanie Oaktay Smith said, it's easier to walk away. Negativity is like walking into a swarm of gnats with your mouth open. You can't get them off you. No one wants that. Now, I agree. But I think, unfortunately, I mean, there are times when you have to deal with negative people. I used to work at a place and there was this one person that was negative like all the time and I had to manage them. And so it's not 100% possible to always separate yourself from negative people. I think that you just have to be so, firm in who you are and so guarded with your energy that you don't allow that to seep into you. Now, if you just, make a choice that you want to be around negative people, that's something else. But I also want to say this. You guys make me think all the time. I also want to say this. I do think that you have to honor how you feel. So, there's some times when you just need to be sad. You know what I mean? Or you just need to be depressed. Or maybe you need to, to take some downtime to care for yourself. So I do think you need to honor how you feel. But Pamela said it best. There's a difference between honoring how you feel and getting stuck in like that gook. You know what I mean? And so I'm not one to say, and that's another thing that I think about affirmations. I mean, you can't always paint a pretty face on everything. I mean, not everything, it's not always pretty. But, you can feel it, and then you can decide that you are going to be above it. So I think that's different than just staying stuck. Pamela says, yeah, I had to manage a lot of negative energy at work. I understand. And what's interesting is you don't even realize like how negative it is all the time until you're not in it anymore. So for me, dealing with a lot of that negative energy was just status quo. That's just the way it was. And so I didn't even realize like how negative it was until I was no longer in the craziness. And even though as an entrepreneur, I've adopted a new kind of crazy, it's a much preferred kind of crazy because I have more control over it. Yes, Casey says, acknowledge when you're sad or upset, but realize it's temporary and small in the big picture of things. I definitely agree. I think we are responsible for change. Dallas says, however, we are not responsible for the change or the willingness to do so. We have to be responsible for you mean for somebody else? Maybe you mean for somebody else. Yeah, we can't change anybody else. We can't make anybody do what we think that they should do. No, I agree. So sometimes you really do have to love them and then let them go until they get it themselves. So I definitely agree with that. Okay, Michael just went super scientific on us. So yeah, I agree, Michael. I think that we're definitely having some ozone issues, and that can definitely affect the way things happen on Earth. I mean, there's just a lot. But I think that you can decide at one point that you are going to take control of your thoughts and how you operate, and just be responsible for that. Okay, I know. It is fun. That's so funny because I used to do I would close my office door, and because I didn't even want to see people walking past up and down the hallway. I mean, it could get really bad, but I think that I think that can be any such a reactionary society, and we just react to things without thinking them through or really harnessing our thoughts and changing outlook. Right. Balance helps to cope with negative energy. I absolutely agree. And staying grounded with who you are. I absolutely agree. So it's something I work with daily. I think that I can always get better. And I just think that, you just need to continue to plant those. Yeah, I just said that, You just need to continue to plant those positive seeds, not only in other people's lives, but in your life as well. Because it really does start with you. So, Pamela says some negative people do speak things we need to look at. It's just the way they say it. Yeah, I think people, will always have ulterior motives, and that's when discernment comes in. I mean, I think we all can get a sense of somebody's energy, and even though they're saying one thing, just their body language and their energy or what they do definitely gives off something else, and I think we have to use our discernment with that. I do that a lot, like in business situations. Sometimes things just don't feel right. It doesn't mean that person is bad. It just may be that your energy is not, vibing. And so you have to be very careful. As my daddy says, all money isn't good money. So not every client you're supposed to work with, not every colleague are you supposed to collaborate with. And you just have to use discernment so that you can try to stay as protected as possible. Doesn't make them bad, just doesn't make them right for you. I agree. We must always be good role models. I absolutely agree. I think great leaders don't lead by theory, they lead by example. And I think that's the place that we all need to be in. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We don't need to say and put all this, whatever together. We don't need to tweet about it or post about it on Facebook. Even those things are great, but if you're not living it, it's not going to make a difference. Because at the end of the day, people look at what you do, not necessarily what you say. So, that is my thought. That we all have to remember that even when we don't think that we are extremely powerful beings. And that our thoughts do have power, and they will take root, and they will manifest whatever it is that they are. Yes, yes, sir, Julius. Celebrate discernment, but temper it with honesty. I absolutely agree. All right, good people. I will talk to you later. I'm going to go do some good in the hood. Meaning I'm going to go volunteer. So you guys have a good night. I will talk to you guys later.